I arrived in Thailand in September of 1963. I was 24 years old and not long out of college. I had some military experience. They had taught me how to build things out of earth, digging and hauling and compacting it. You could build a lot of things that way, roads and canals and dams. You could do it almost anywhere if you could find the dirt and the means of compacting it. We Americans were good at that kind of thing. They sent me up to the northeast part of Thailand. They said the people were poor there. It rained too much or too little. In years when the rains were good, they were able to raise a crop of rice, and the water in the ditches beside the road became full of little black fish that they pounded into a paste. Otherwise, they got on eating hot peppers and insect larvae. They said the ones with eggs were best. They drank a lot of whiskey. Communism looked okay to them. There were signs in the stars that said it was coming, a new dawn. But I found these locals friendly and attractive. They waved and smiled at me as I passed in my Jeep. They asked how old I was and how much money I made. I had to find some dirt to build a dam. We thought that would help cut down the flooding and provide some extra water for the dry season. They gave me a Jeep, but the rains started and the Jeep got stuck in the mud. So I got an elephant. There were a lot of them around. They worked in the jungle hauling teak trees. A family of them lived just outside my bedroom. The name of my village was Elephant Head Village. It was in the mountains between Vietnam and Bangkok. The CIA thought that the communists were poised to take over the whole region. Everyone said the Russians were supporting all of this, a master plan to take over the world.
You will not be able to strangle the voice of the people, which roars out and will go on sounding. Down with colonialism. The sooner we bury it, and the deeper, the better.
If we withdrew from Vietnam, the communists would control Vietnam. Pretty soon, Thailand, Cambodia, Laos, Malaya.
Already in Vietnam, things were in a serious mess. Soon enough, the communists would burst like a flood wave through these mountains and my village and start spilling down into Bangkok. You could say my dam was supposed to stop the flood of storms and the flood of communists too. Vietnam was run by the Diem brothers. They smoked a lot of perfumed French cigarettes and beat up the Buddhists. President Kennedy and his defense secretary, Robert McNamara, had observed that flooding was a persistent problem in Vietnam, and it occurred to them, on observing the royal excursions of the Diem brothers into flood-stricken areas of their country, that some military moves could be quietly undertaken under the guise of providing flood assistance to Vietnam. Why not fund some big WPA-style earth-moving projects to control floods, then, in a bizarre twist, turn them into village fortifications that were supposed to keep the Viet Cong out of the villages, where, I suppose, they actually lived.
Deep moats in the high fences. First came the moat around the entire village. bamboo spikes, making an ancient but thoroughly efficient protection against invaders, have become the trademark of the strategic hamlets, and each spike is cut.
In this way, some of those great themes of American history, manifest destiny, the taming of the West, the TVA, could be reforged into weapons to destroy the cancer of communism. In the summer of 1963, the Diem's, staunch Catholics, spent their energies and the trust of the Kennedy administration by attacking Buddhists on the streets of Saigon. The Buddhists took to burning themselves in protest.
Barbecued one of their monks.
President Kennedy began to distance himself from these misguided policies.
Their war. They're the ones who have to win it or lose it. We can help them, we can give them prizes, but they have to win it, the people of Vietnam against the communists.
Meanwhile, here in Thailand, they had a military strongman. Sarit Thanarat was his name, and he had a voice like a bull.
ในวันหนึ่งข้างหน้าเราจะต้องเอาปราสาทพระวิหารกลับคืนมาเป็นของชาติไทยให้ทรงได้สวัสดี
He collected beauty queens and was drinking himself to death. The Americans invited him to Walter Reed Hospital for a liver job. They promised him a lot of money, and they showed him how they were going to put him on the cover of Time magazine. Sarit signed on with the plan and took $25 of the dollars for himself to buy beauty queens and cars. The rest was supposed to go for things like building my dam. That same month, I was by day probing the depth of soil beneath the village, and by night getting myself into trouble at drinking parties with my drilling crew. That fall, big storms began breaking all over the region. First, the Diem's. They were assassinated. Then, 2 weeks later, Kennedy. The next week, right here in Thailand, Sarit, the Prime Minister, his liver burst and all the doctors from Walter Reed couldn't fix it. A few days later, I got a cable from the Bangkok office. They said they were reconsidering the whole dam project. Something terrible had happened. A big dam had burst in Los Angeles. People were drowning. It was like a scene from the Bible.
For the first time in American history, aerial pictures of a disaster were being broadcast live on television. At 3:38 p.m., just 4 hours after the first sign of trouble, the Baldwin Hills Dam gave way.
It was a gathering storm of instability. I stood on the ridge overlooking the rising river below. Someday the communists might come rushing out of these same hills. I wondered where I would find all the earth necessary to build this dam. How would I compact it? And even then, would seepage through the cracked rock on either side of the canyon destroy my work and bring a devastation to the lands below worse than they had ever known?